Hi, juniors. You have no idea how excited your teachers are to begin Hamlet. Um, Whenever you begin a Shakespeare play, it's always good to get some background. And I think you may have already seen the introduction video that we made that gave you a little bit of background to Shakespeare and the time period in which the play was written and what was going on in England at the time. This video is going to give you a little bit of background on what's going on in the play. What's happening behind the scenes, what's happened a couple years ago, that all gives structure and frames the story that you're about to read. Act 1, Scene 1 is a pretty great scene. You got these guards who are on watch at the top of this castle. It's freezing cold, they're scared, a ghost appears, but at the very end of the scene, you get this long speech by Horatio. And it's one of those long speeches that mentions other countries, and so our eyes tend to glaze over a little. This video is going to take you through that speech because even though it seems long and complicated, it actually brings up some really cool backstory that's going to make sense of a lot of what happens in the play. Okay, I'm going to present the slideshow to you here, and we are going to find out what's going on. Okay, so here we are, Act 1, Scene 1. I've got a couple pictures from different versions of Hamlet. One of the things, they're all different time periods. Two of them are on screen, one's on stage, but I like these pictures because you can see in the expressions of a lot of these characters' faces that they look scared. And this is the tone. I want you to feel that. It's hard to feel it when you're just reading, but think about these guys, these guards, Marcellus, Bernardo, the others. They're up there walking around the parapets of a castle. It's Denmark. It's cold. It's windy. It's nighttime. And on top of all of that, there's a ghost. There have been sightings of a ghost, and so they're terrified. They're pawns, too. They don't know what they're doing up there. They've just been told that this is what they must do. So of course they have questions. Thankfully, Horatio appears, not only because they feel that as a scholar he can talk to the ghost, but he might be able to answer another question. And that is Marcellus's question that he poses to Horatio on line 81. And this is, if you've got your books with you, if you have a book, a hard copy of the book, The Folger Shakespeare, it would be on page 13. If you don't, you can follow along in the online version, but this begins at around line 81. And Marcellus, after they've seen the ghost and exchanged their terror, he wants to know why they're even there in the first place. And so he begins. Good now, sit me down and tell me, he that knows. And then he starts to ask these questions. Why this same strict and most observant watch so nightly toils the subject of the land? Why are we up here? Why the daily cast of brazen cannon? Why are we making cannons? Why are we making and trading implements of war? Why are the shipwrights working so hard they don't even get Sundays off? What is going on? Who is it, he asks, that can inform me? Well, it's Horatio. And Horatio, I'm going to move on to Horatio's speech here because I love his first line. Remember, Marcellus says, who is it that can inform me? Who is it that can inform me? And Horatio answers, that can I. Horatio is a man more of answers than of questions, probably. But this is a play full of questions. In fact, one of Shakespeare's, well, possibly his most famous quoted line is, to be or not to be, that is the question. And that line comes from Hamlet. So keep your eye on Horatio. See how many times he has answers, or maybe he doesn't. In this case, though, he does. He begins by telling those two men, and I have this image of them kind of huddling down behind a stone wall as Horatio shares the news. He says, I can tell you, at least the whisper goes so. And I've highlighted that word whisper because it gives you a really cool new literary device if you've not already heard of this. It's called a synecdoche, and it's when a word represents a part of something, but it refers to the whole. So in this case, whisper, Horatio didn't hear one whisper, he's heard many whispers. And in this case, the whisper refers to the word on the street or a rumor. And keep your eye out for other instances of whispers in this play. Rumors and gossip play a huge role. Even our good man Horatio is trafficking in a little gossip here. So he says, this is what I have heard. Our last king, whose image even but now appeared to us, right, as the ghost, was, and now he's going to give the backstory. As you know, so these guys know, we don't know, but we're going to be told. So many years ago, the backstory has it, King Fortinbras of Norway dared King Hamlet to a duel. So I guess that's what kings did. And both kings wagered a whole lot of money in lands. So Fortinbras of Norway, he says to these men, as you know, dared to our king to the combat, in which our valiant Hamlet did slay this Fortinbras. Okay, Hamlet won. What does he get out of it? Well, all of these lines from about 98, I guess, down to about 106 are a very complex set of Shakespearean English that basically tells us the wager that was made. So both men put down lands and money, and whoever won got all of it. Now, of course, both men had sons, and those sons would naturally inherit the riches and lands of their fathers, unless, of course, one of their fathers lost those lands and riches to another king. Well, that's what happened. So that's the backstory. Here's what's going on now. Go down to line 107. Now, sir, young Fortinbras, of unimproved metal hot and full, hath in the skirts of Norway here and there sharped up a list of lawless resolutes. Okay, Fortinbras, this is a little note over there to the right. King Fortinbras is dead, but his son Prince Fortinbras is very much alive and very angry. His mettle, and this is a great word, mettle means a person's ability to face a demanding situation with spirit and resilience. Well, King Fortinbras's son has a lot of mettle. Prince Fortinbras he is hot and full of the desire to fix the wrong done to him. His mettle is untested, meaning that he's restless and he wants to prove himself. He needs to make a name for himself because he doesn't have all the lands and money that he should have had. Who has those? Well, King Hamlet's son, Prince Hamlet. So you see, now we have these parallel characters. We've got Prince Hamlet and we've got Prince Fortinbras. All of Prince Fortinbras' inheritance is currently possessed by Prince Hamlet. And of course, young Fortinbras does not like this. So what has he done? Well, instead of going the formal and official route, he hath sharked up a list of lawless resolutes. And I've highlighted these words, sharked, lawless, and then this reference to having a stomach in it. And all of these are kind of language of untamed action, adventure, risk. This is who Prince Fortinbras is. He's not going to sit around and hire lawyers to try to get his money back. He's going to go find some hungry guys, some mercenaries basically, who have nothing better to do and want some food and drink and are willing to kill for it. So this is what Fortinbras is doing. And why? Because he wants to recover of us by strong hands and terms compulsory those foresaid lands so by his father lost. And this, I take it, Horatio says, is the main motive of our preparations. Okay, so this is what's happening. This is why they're out there wandering the castle at night and making arms and cannons and building ships, because Fortinbras is coming. Now, maybe that doesn't seem hugely important, and even if I tell you now that Fortinbras will appear in the play, but not much. But here's why it is important. Take a look at this list. What Shakespeare has given us is the perfect setup for foils. Okay, you've got Denmark. Denmark had a king, King Hamlet of Denmark. Norway had a king, King Fortinbras of Norway. Both of these men had sons, Prince Hamlet and Prince Fortinbras. Confusing, named after their fathers. Maybe a little less confusing, both of the original kings are now dead. King Fortinbras was killed by King Hamlet in that duel, and King Hamlet is no longer living either, which really is the, kind of prompts the conflict of this whole play. So we've got two living leaders of these countries, although they're not really leaders yet. We've got Prince Hamlet and Prince Fortinbras, and just to seal the foil nature of them, who happens to be the current king of Denmark? Prince Hamlet's uncle, who happens to be the current king of Norway? Prince Fortinbras's uncle. You don't need to remember all of that. What I want you to remember as you go forward and continue to read is that both Prince Hamlet and Prince Fortinbras are princes who have lost their fathers. They both are going to respond to this loss. They both are going to be prompted to react. Both of them are going to have their mettle tested. And so keep your eyes on how both of them respond. And have fun as you keep reading.